exposing another feminist harassing subreddit, r niceguys. Welcome. Today I want to talk about another feminist-controlled subreddit called niceguys. I think it's important to be ready to recognize their tactics. First of all, what does nice guy mean? The expression was born as a way men used to describe themselves trying to appeal to women, while trying to get dates with them. It mostly came as a mistaken response to women's misandry. I accept that you are scared of men, but I'm one of the nice guys, and the mistake is obviously to validate the feminist lies, because women are not scared. Men don't go out of their way to attack them, it's just projection. The opposite is true. But the average man is incapable of realizing the extent of the female contempt towards men. Why would they try to date them if that was not so? And so he throws other men under the bus, keeping up the lose-lose cycle. That said, a man that just believes in his own good nature isn't necessarily a bad thing. There are all sorts of men that want to date women without doing anything wrong. Maybe sometimes they stand up for themselves after being rejected, or maybe they just get cold creeps without doing anything. So here's the turning point. Since feminists realize that men wanting to date women is not going away anytime soon, and they can't censor the discourse behind, the next thing they'll want to do is to control it and frame it under a curtain of lies. So let's check this nice guy subreddit, which is not a place where men can talk, but a place where women talk about men. And let's point out all the common feminist tactics. The first thing, and it's a recurring one, is building a threat narrative basing it on a specific idea, which will then get watered down. So in the end, they will go about smearing a lot more men in the process, even if those men have nothing to do with it, because that's the point, attacking men in general. To further explain this, let's read from their rules. It's supposed to be a subreddit about the so-called nice guys, in the feminist definition that always assume they are bad, they are male after all. But if you check what is actually posted on there, it's not only about men that these women forcibly group in that definition. They will to signal to women, and they are always lying because we say so, and they are bad. But there are also men that have absolutely nothing to do, even with the feminist stretched definition. And I'll provide examples. But first, another very important point to keep in mind. From the rules, they say that men claiming virtue are hurting other men in the process, but make no mistake, they don't care about the suffering of the other men. That's just gaslighting. What they really care about is building a giant strawman of everything possible that can happen on a date, and especially the parts when men stand up for themselves. That's what women really hate and decide it is toxic. I looked on the post. There's someone calling himself an alpha male, there's no such thing, and explaining to the woman why that is not toxic, because men are only hostile to other men, of course. But the women do not care if this has nothing to do with calling oneself a nice guy. It's just treated as the same thing as a man losing his cool after being rejected and lashing out in text messages. And it's also very interesting that the men in the comments are not allowed to ask for the context. They are meant to assume that men are always wrong. It's in the rules. But what does the rules section do? It talks about men blaming women for being sexually abused, something that doesn't exist, and at the same time is taken as the measure of the other behavior to avoid, which is to hold women accountable for their hostility against men, instead of just assuming the men to be in the wrong. Do you get the full picture now? Let's repeat. Feminists take something that happens and they can't hide. So they work on a false framing. They posture about caring for men, but it's actually all about their false victimhood. The definitions are based on misandrist claims first, and then stressed to be applied to men that have nothing to do with it. Meanwhile, men are not able to get the full picture, and they are not willing to get the full picture. And they are like, I don't understand why something so normal as calling myself nice has become a forbidden expression that portrays me as a dangerous woman hater. I guess I'll just try different words that will not cut it. One more example from the feminist subreddit. This man left a pick-up note. Is that dangerous as well? But the boyfriend replied to the note instead, and so he was posted there to be made fun of. But of course, the excuse is that he was brought up there because of a problematic pickup lines he used, that he likes beauty. Because in the stretched nice guy definition, that's just the same as claiming virtue and therefore being a dangerous man. That's how feminist propaganda works, always chipping away at natural things like men expressing themselves. And I'll go back to some point in the rules where the ways of posting are explained. You have to make the title all about the claim that identifies the man as a dangerous nice guy, and you have to start with an acronym that basically works the same way as the Orwellian newspeak from 1984. And then there's another interesting part. This is not the place to challenge gender roles. Do you know why? Because these women want to allow themselves the ability to be hypocritical. Feminism is about the woman oppressed in the family, that's bad, but also women want these gender roles and want the ability to complain about them. That's double think if you are keeping up with Orwell's 1984, making the most out of contradictory positions. There are all sorts of screens from men's direct messages where they just call out this female hypocrisy, and of course the feminists hate this. That's an important purpose of this subreddit, to refute and smear these men without engaging. That's what actually dangerous for these feminists. And as a bonus, I'll quickly refer to a video that talks about the subreddit and to a couple of tweets that are just from the last couple of days. This is a popular YouTuber that joins the bashing, supporting this false and completely baseless claim that lonely men are always ready to become abusive.
You sound like the type of person that would get really jealous and then probably verbally abusive if nothing else. That's you, right?
Bit from the video here. Notice how it's all consistently watered down. Internet is so dangerous for women. Men don't value women and are sexually assaulting them. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what's happening on Twitter. This is just a feminist with a decent following, ranting every day that men are ontologically evil and normalizing the dehumanization of men. There's also transphobia, of course, rooted in misandry. Look how they casually pushed that men view women as porn star or anime girls. But let's break this post down, even getting past the assumption that male sexuality is bad for no reason except the anti-male hatred. They are like, seeking women for sex is bad, but also looking for connections with women is also bad. That's the anime claim. Men watch anime for escapism and to feel less alone. That's wrong somehow. Of course, all of this is just more bashing of male sexuality and anime just because both are things that men enjoy. It's amazing the amount of hate and propaganda that can be put in a tweet, and X is full of that. Last one, this is a tweet that went viral from a female gamer. First, she takes money from a man to play this game with him. Then she posts on X calling him a pig. Can you see what female streamers are doing to gaming? How they exploit desperate and lonely men and then just turn on them? Also take this as a further reason why men should stop pandering to these women, as they have nothing genuine to gain. The internet and its social networks, like all society, is a play hostile to men, not to women. If anything, women are the ones inciting the bashing. Men are not just lonely, they are constantly dehumanized, and yet their space is taken away. That's why men don't open up. Of course, we've got to break this cycle. Thanks for listening.